Hey everybody, so you like the Beatles, right? We all like the Beatles. And maybe you just started getting into collecting records and you have all the Beatles albums already, but you want to branch out into some other albums and some other artists, but you're kind of afraid to pull the trigger on spending money on the album or whatever. Well, in this video, I want to show you 10 albums and artists that I think if you like the Beatles, you will most likely definitely like these albums that I've picked right here. Now, a lot of times on my Instagram and on my YouTube channel right here, I get people asking me for recommendations. By the way, here's Bobby rolling around. He might be wandering in and out of the video, as always. But I get a lot of people asking me for recommendations based off of, just the videos I post on here. Like I'll post, a lot of Beatles stuff, of course. And people will ask well, obviously there's no one else like the Beatles, but if I like the Beatles, do you have any recommendations for me? So that's kind of how I got this idea for this video. But in making this video, I did make a few rules, and the main rule is that I didn't choose any artists that are like major artists, like the Rolling Stones, the Beach Boys, Bob Dylan, the Doors, those kind of major artists that obviously people are aware of those bands and those artists. And if you like the Beatles, you definitely most likely will also like the Rolling Stones. So if you haven't explored those artists' catalog, you should definitely do so. So I tried to pick a little bit more obscure maybe albums and artists. But of course, within this pile of 10 albums that I have, I'm sure a lot of you will know some of this stuff. But like I said, maybe if you're new to collecting records or just new to music in general, or you've got all the Beatles albums and you just want to kind of branch out a little bit, I think these are going to be some albums that you'll really, really like. So first off, this is an album by a Canadian band called The Guess Who. And this album is called Wheatfield Soul. And this is just a very, very Beatlesque album. They sound amazing. They write great songs. And the big hit song from this is a song called These Eyes, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. But the whole album is excellent from start to finish. And it's got a bit of, there's a bit of surrealism happening within this album. There's also just so much amazing melody going in and out of this record. And my favorite song on this album is the song called I Found Her in a Star. And if there's just one song that I recommend you looking up maybe on YouTube or on Spotify or whatever before you bought the album, I'd recommend listening to I Found Her in a Star. I guarantee you will love that song. But the whole album, like I said, is really, really great. Just a late 60s masterpiece, in my opinion. And one that I don't think gets a lot of praise these days. So The Guess Who, Wheatfield Soul, highly recommend this album. Definitely check this out. Okay, the next band and next album that I think you would definitely like if you are into the Beatles. This is a band called Big Star, and this is their second album called Radio City. Now, I would recommend all three of their albums. Their first album is called Big Star #1 Record. This is their second album, and they have the third album called Big Star Third or Sister Lovers. All three of those albums, I think, are excellent. I happen to really love this second album, probably most of all of them, but I do love all their records. And I'm sure you've heard of this band before, Big Star. I made a video actually talking all about Big Star, one of my past videos, so go look through my channel and find that. But I highly recommend this record. A lot of great guitar riffs. The vocals are fantastic from Alex Chilton, who's also in the Box Tops. And it's just got amazing songs, amazing hooks, very, very catchy, very Beatles-esque in the sense of kind of like mid to late Beatles time period. Think like Hey Bulldog mixed with a little bit of like the Abbey Road polish to it as well. So Big Star, I highly recommend, especially this album, Radio City. Moving on. Now this is probably going to be the most obvious choice of all these, but I had to include Harry Nilsson. Now, Harry Nilsson was actually, throughout all the people, or all the bands in these 10 that I've chosen here, he's maybe the only one that gets the actual Beatles approval. Harry Nilsson is an amazing singer-songwriter, and his songs are so Beatlesque and just a fantastic artist, and I couldn't pick just one of his albums, so I chose this one, which happens to be one of my favorites. This is called Aerial Pandemonium Ballet. It's kind of a mix-up of his first two albums, kind of like a best of in a weird way, but he did re-record some of the vocals and made them a little different. But from start to finish, this is so Beatlesque and so just a beautiful, beautiful record, and I cannot recommend it enough. So this is Harry Nilsson's Aerial Pandemonium Ballet, and I've talked about this one before on my channel as well, but highly, highly recommend it. So definitely check it out. Okay, moving on. This is an artist named Nick Lowe, and this is his album released, I think it was originally released in 1977-76. This happens to be a US pressing, and I believe that the British pressing of this has a different title, but this US pressing is the one I have in my collection, and I just love this album. This album's called Pure Pop for Now People, and for those of you who don't know, Nick Lowe produced Elvis Costello, first couple of albums by Elvis Costello. He was in another band in the like late mid 70s called Rockpile with Dave Edmunds. Just an amazing bass player and songwriter, and he plays all kinds of instruments, as you can see. And this album is just so fantastic, full of so many catchy songs. Probably the song he's best known for is What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding, which was a song that Elvis Costello covered, but Nick Lowe actually wrote it. But this album has a bunch of great songs. A song called I Love the Sound of Breaking Glass, which is kind of like a disco-ish sounding song, but it's very melodic, really, really great. Has a lot of McCartney vibes about it. Another song here that I would really highly recommend is a song called So It Goes. Look it up. You'll definitely love it. This is an album that I really cannot recommend enough. So check out Nick Lowe, Pure Pop for Now People. I would have to look at the title to make sure I get it right. Nick Lowe, definitely highly recommend. Okay, and next up, this is an artist named Jerryrafferty. This is an album called City to City. Now, this has two mega hits on it. And the first one is a song called Baker Street, which has that really iconic saxophone line that I won't sing, but it's pretty much, I think it like sums up the 1980s, at least it does for me whenever I hear that saxophone. Although this album was released in 1978, but for some reason it has that 80s vibe about it. It has another amazing song on here called Right Down the Line, which was also a big hit. But this album is so amazing from start to finish. Every song is just well crafted. Jerryrafferty's voice is so silky smooth, so melodic, and just wonderful. And I just love this record. And again, it's kind of McCartney-esque in some ways. And for those of you who don't know, Jerryrafferty was also in a band called Steelers Wheel, who did the song Stuck in the Middle with You, which I'm sure you're aware of. And he's just an amazing artist, and this is, in my opinion, his best album, his best solo album, and highly recommend City to City by Jerryrafferty. So definitely check this out. Okay, this is the oddball of the bunch. Now, there are probably some of you right now who are saying, if I like the Beatles, are you kidding? I would like the Roaches. In my opinion, I really do believe that if you were ever going to take a leap of faith and go with saying like, I'm just going to trust Brian's instinct on this. And if you've never heard this album by the Roaches, and this is their self-titled debut, if you've never heard this, pick it up now any way you can, or listen to it online, but definitely try to get this get it on vinyl. This is one of the most amazing records you will ever hear. And the Roaches are three sisters, and they are from New Jersey, and they were around in like the late 70s, early 80s, and this album is so amazing in the sense that it's very minimalist. It's most of the time just an acoustic guitar and the three of them singing, and maybe a little bit of bass, maybe a little bit of percussion. But their harmonies are so full and creative, and their melodies are so interesting. The lyrics are very, very funny, but also very, very touching. And if you were only going to listen to one song from this album, I would recommend listening to a song called Hammond Song. Hammond, as in like John Hammond, Hammond Song. Look it up. It is one of the most beautiful songs you'll ever hear. It's just like a sonic masterpiece as well. So the Roaches, I cannot recommend them highly enough. So great. And I have talked about this album before on my channel, but this is just one of the best records I could ever recommend to you if you've never heard it. So definitely check out the Roaches self-titled album. And this is from 1979, I believe. Yeah, 79. So check them out for sure. You will love it. Okay, next up. This is another artist that is very McCartney-esque in a lot of ways. In fact, he was called, his nickname is the OneMan Beatles. This is Emmett Rhodes, and this is Emmett Rhodes' debut. Well, it's not his actual debut solo album, but I think it's like considered his official solo album. First debut solo album. First debut doesn't make any sense. His debut solo album. And it is an amazing record. If you've never heard this, you will love this. If you like the Beatles, if you like Paul McCartney, this almost sounds like if Paul would have made another album right after his first album, McCartney, this is what it probably would have sounded like. The songs on here are so catchy. And by the way, Emmett Rhodes is playing everything on this record himself. And he recorded it all himself as well at his home studio in his garage. So it's a very unique album. And I have talked about Emmett Rhodes on my channel before as well. But this is the record to own if you like Emmett Rhodes or if you like the Beatles and McCartney solo stuff. This is it. So great. There's a documentary on him called OneMan Beatles, which I also highly recommend. But pick up this album, find it online, whatever, listen to it. You will love it. It's so great. I'm not even going to suggest one song because every single song on here is really great. And this is, in my opinion, a perfect album. So definitely check out Emmett Rhodes, his self-titled debut album. Okay, up next. This is a band called Squeeze. I'm sure you've all heard of Squeeze, and they have many great albums, but I decided to choose this. This is the greatest hits of theirs called Singles, just because every single song on this is amazing, and from start to finish, it's very Beatlesque, and it's just an album that I know if you've never heard Squeeze, or if you've only heard like their big song, which is Tempted, is their really big song, and they maybe another song you may have heard would be like Pulling Muscles from Michelle, but all the songs on here are really great, so catchy, and just really brilliant British new wave is definitely what they were categorized when they came out, but really it's just Beatlesque in my opinion. Really jangly guitars, memorable melodies, great harmonies. Overall, just an amazing band. So Squeeze, I would definitely recommend, and especially this greatest hits album, Singles. So try to pick this up if you can as well. Okay, we have two more. This is the most modern artist I'm going to include in this, and this is an artist, his name is Elliot Smith, and I'm sure a lot of you are aware of Elliot Smith, but maybe some of you who are older are not aware of Elliot Smith, and he is so fantastic. Maybe the best songwriter, and I know this is going to be quite a statement, maybe the best songwriter from the last like 25 years. And I don't say stuff like that a lot, but he is an amazing talent, or he was. He actually passed away, but he was an amazing talent. All his albums are great. This is probably the most Beatlesque album. He, in fact, actually recorded some of these tracks at Abbey Road. And it's just full of amazing melodic hooks. His lyrics are beautiful. This is just every single song in here I cannot recommend enough. He's got like a John Lennon-esque quality to a lot of his songwriting. And I don't say that often. In fact, I don't think I've ever said that. But I will say that about Elliot Smith. He also has a McCartney pop sensibility. And he's just an all-around great musician as well. He plays drums on this record, on some of the songs. He plays almost all the guitar, almost all the piano. And if I had to recommend, I guess, one song from this record for you to listen to, it would be the first song called Son of Sam. All the songs are great, but if you've never heard this, listen to Son of Sam. I guarantee you will love it. So check this out. If you are an older person, if you are a younger person, if you are in the middle of those age groups, you will like this. I guarantee it. Pick this up immediately. Elliot Smith. And by the way, there are modern pressings of this album that sound terrible. This is not one of those. This is an amazing sounding pressing, and this happens to be the pressing from Geffen Records from 2013. So if you're going to pick this up, find the Geffen Records pressing from 2013. It will say Geffen Records right there on the bottom, and then it will say 2000 and then 2013. This is the one you want. So Elliot Smith, Either Or no, not Either Or. Either Or is another of his albums, which is also great. But this is Figure 8. Elliot Smith, Figure 8. Pick it up. You will love it. Okay, now the last record I'm going to recommend is probably a record a lot of you are familiar with, but there might be some of you who are not, and that's why I'm including it. This is an album by the Zombies called Odyssey and Oracle, and it is, first of all, they are an amazing 60s band. They were around at the same time as the Beatles. In fact, this was recorded at Abbey Road, and it was recorded by Jeff Emmerich, the Beatles engineer, of course. And it was recorded around the same time period that the Beatles were working on Sgt. Pepper. The Zombies were working on this album, and it's I don't know if it's quite a concept album, but it definitely has a vibe going from the very start to the very end, much like Sgt. Pepper. It's got every single song is great. The big song from this is the song called Time of the Season, which I'm sure all of you are aware of. But all the songs on here are beautiful, and the songwriting talent of Rod Argent is just so clear on this album. And Colin Blunstone is one of the lead vocalists. He's mainly the main lead vocalist. They all kind of sing though, but his voice is just haunting and brilliant. And I cannot recommend this album enough as well. It's an absolute masterpiece. In fact, it's one of my favorite albums of all time. I highly recommend it. If you've never heard it, pick it up because it's really, really brilliant. And I just know you'll love it. So, The Zombies, Odyssey, and Oracle. Highly recommend. So, these are albums that if you like the Beatles, I recommend them to you. So, I'm going to show you them one last time. Odyssey and Oracle by Zombies, Elliot Smith, Figure 8, Squeeze, Singles, Emmett Rhodes, his self-titled debut album, The Roaches, self-titled debut album, almost dropped it, Jerryrafferty, City to City, so great, Nick Lowe, Pure Pop for Now People, amazing, Harry Nilsson, Aerial Pandemonium Ballet. Harry Nilsson is so brilliant. Check this one out. Radio City by Big Star. So great, so rockin', amazing guitar riffs. And The Guess Who, Wheatfield Soul. All of these albums are amazing. Pick them all up. Go for it. By the way, none of these artists are paying me to do this. That'd be great if they wanted to, but probably not going to happen. So that's okay. I just love this music, and I know you will too. So check these out. Hey, that's it for now. Maybe you're asking yourself, though, before I go. Maybe you're asking yourself, does Brian have a mustache? Brian does have a mustache. Here it is. You see, folks, today happens to be Halloween. Maybe it's not Halloween right now, depending on when you're watching this. But when I was making this video, right now, at this time, it is indeed Halloween. As you can probably tell, with some decorations and stuff. And for Halloween, my costume involves this mustache. So I have grown this mustache. It'll probably never be here ever again. So just remember this video. If you ever want to go back and think about, when did Brian have a mustache? it was this video. So, yes, I do have a mustache. Don't worry. It'll be gone soon. Okay, that's it for now. Take care. Happy Halloween, and bye for now.